Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Fish Den 365, and welcome back to Topwater Tuesday. Today we have an interesting one for you. We were out on the water yesterday and we found a strange pattern that I'd love to get your opinion on and find out what you think. So we were out on Nockamixon yesterday, and our purpose out there was twofold. Number one, we wanted to find some big fish because we were looking for another top finish in the lunker tournament coming up on Wednesday. And the other purpose was to see if we can find a topwater bite for filming for Topwater Tuesday. So I decided to throw this bait. This is the real deal shad in the bluegill color, and that blue under there is going to become significant as we talk about this. And I started throwing this bait shallow yesterday on the surface, fishing it like a toad. And I was focusing on lily pads. And I found a section of lily pads that had a couple biters in it. They came up and they weren't really taking it. One of them bit behind the lure and it looked like a pretty good sized fish. So I followed up with a drop shot rig, a power shot with a beaver, with a Reaction Innovations beaver. And I was able to catch that fish following up with the beaver. Nice. All right, that's what you call using a topwater to find the bass and catch them down a little bit. Ended up getting them on a drop shot at beaver. That was fun. Beautiful bass in the pads. He smashed my real deal shad and missed, and I came back and got him with the beav. That's happened for me quite a few times here at this lake. So I continued to fish around, and later on I found a patch of pads that was maybe 75 to 100 yards long, and I was going down those pads and I kept getting blow-ups on this bait, but they weren't really taking it. They'd spit it, or they wouldn't really grab it, or they'd blow up behind it. I'd feel their weight for a second. Every time I set the hook, there'd be nothing there. I'd wait, I'd try different things. I just couldn't seem to catch those fish. It finally got to the point where I had one that hit pretty close to the boat, and I just pitched the bait out there, this same bait. I pitched it out there, and it started to sink below the pads, and he grabbed it, and I hooked him, and I caught that fish. You little dog. Boy, he made me work for him. Topwater Tuesday, you get them any way you can, baby. But I was frustrated because for every one of those, there were a whole bunch more that I just couldn't catch. So I started thinking, well, what the heck is going on here? So I tried some different things. I thought, well, maybe they don't want a fast-moving bait. So I threw a frog, and they didn't want the frog. I didn't get one bite on the frog in the same section that I was getting the bites on with this. They just didn't want it. They wanted something moving, but they didn't really want to grab it. They were playing with it, it seemed to me. So then I thought, well, maybe the color of this is the deal. You know, for you Six Sigma experts out there, I had a full factorial experiment going on by the time the day was over, trying to figure out what it took to get these fish to fully commit, because I had them interested and I could find them easily, but I couldn't convert a lot of the bites. So anyway, I thought, well, maybe the color matters. So maybe they didn't want bluegill, maybe they wanted a shad color. So I threw a shad colored bait in there. This one, another real deal. So it's the same bait, different color. I put some red gills on there thinking that might help. I went through that same section of pads with this bait. Conditions were the same, partly cloudy, partly sunny, and a good wind blowing in there. Not a sniff. None of those fish came up for this color, none of them. And I thought, well, this is just driving me nuts now. So I went back to this one with the blue on it. And sure enough, I caught one. He actually grabbed it and I caught him. Small one, but it was a catch nevertheless. And again, they seemed much more interested in this one. So as the day went on, I began to conclude that, you know, there's so much opportunities for the fish, the game fish, the bass to eat in that lake, because there's just so much food. There's gizzard shad, there's alewife, there's bluegills this size, you know, perfect size fish for these things to eat. And so there's no shortage of food. There's a smorgasbord of food out there. And at this time of the year, you know, the bass usually spawn first, and then and what happens then is the bluegills tend to eat their eggs, and then the bluegills will spawn, and the bass eat the bluegills. They get revenge. And it seemed to me that the bass were just terrorizing bluegills yesterday. I don't think they cared about eating. They were probably full or didn't need to eat. But I swear, they seemed like they were having fun just terrorizing this bait yesterday, because they weren't really taking it. And it was, I can't come up with a better explanation than that. It may not be true, but that's the way it seemed. Maybe the size mattered. I didn't get a chance to play with size, but I really don't think so. They were aggressively blowing up on the bait, but they just weren't really eating it. It was strange. I had to really work to catch a few. I did notice that as the day went on, though, they did seem easier to catch. My batteries died. I don't have all the footage to show, but I'll show you a fish that I caught in a picture here. That was one of the better ones I got. That you know, they began eating better as the day went on. I began committing a little bit better as we got into late afternoon. I quit around 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30, and by that time it seemed like they were eating a little bit better than they were earlier in the day. But again, it was a strange bite, and I'm wondering, have you ever experienced something like that with a topwater bite? I mean, I swear this blue made a difference on this coming through. You know, they wanted something that looked like a bluegill, but yet they didn't really seem to want it that much. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time pitching and flipping, but I did. I mean, every time I had one of these blow-ups, I pitch and flip in there with the drop shot and just a standard beaver, bluegill color beaver, which I catch a bunch of fish on. It's probably the one bait I catch more fish there than anything. But they didn't seem to really want that either. So yeah, I'm confused. The water is very shallow where I was fishing. It wasn't more than 3 feet. In some places it was less than 3 feet. But there were fish in there, and they weren't the biggest ones in the lake, but there were some good ones in with them, and it made it fun with all the blow-ups. So we got some blow-up footage for you and a couple of fish to show you here. And that's this week's Topwater Tuesday. I hope to get back out there and figure that out a little more in the near future. Well, if you liked the video, give me that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to learn more about the real deal shad, take a look at this video here, where I used it last year and caught numerous nice fish on the real deal. That's it for this Topwater Tuesday. Keep it tuned here. Hope to see you on the water. And as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.